Alrighty, let's do it. Let's jump in. That'll do us. Everyone else can jump in as we go. It is 8 o'clock. First of all, thank you all for coming along. It's going to be an interesting little webinar tonight. Designing the perfect diet. I do want to clarify the term diet for this one. We're not talking Atkins. We're not talking detox. We're not talking. I know there's a urine diet. There's some weird diets out there. We're not talking that. For the context of this webinar, diet will be in relation to eating healthy and the types of nutrition that you're putting into the body, right? Cool, awesome. So thank you everybody for coming along on Zoom. If you've registered for this one, we really appreciate all the support that we get through the months and years, and it's been absolutely amazing. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jason. I'm the Director of ProFit International Health and Fitness. I've been doing this a long time. On the nutritional topic, I do hold a double diploma with nutrition, both with sports and exercise nutrition and nutritional therapies, which deals a lot with DNA. So this one, in all honesty, nutrition tends to bore me a little bit. However, it is a very, very critical part of any sort of training. So I tend not to write nutritional plans as such, but give a lot of guidance. And so it's the whole lead a horse to water. You can't make him drink. I can give you the tools, but I really want to teach you how to put this together yourself. And that's the approach that I want to take here tonight. Of course, like I said, we are live on Facebook in our VIP group. If you're not in our VIP group, feel free to shoot me a message, just Jason Gent on Facebook. That's Gent with a Gent. And there you go, as you can see up in the little corner here. And I'll add you to that one. There's loads of cool stuff in there. We're actually looking at some supplements as well. There is a little bit of a delay, I should add. So you may not be getting this on Facebook at the same time you're getting it live on Zoom. It's only a few seconds. I think it's about 10 or 15 second delay. So it'll just be a little bit weird, but no, that's cool. If you're watching a recording on YouTube, again, thank you for taking the time. Hopefully we don't take up too much of your evening. I do want to try and get this out of the way nice and quickly and give you as much info as I can in the time that we have. But cool, let's jump straight in. I do have a little bit of a disclaimer. First of all, we are not going to diagnose anything tonight. So this webinar is just for general information purposes. It's not designed to be the be all and end all. Of course, if there are any sort of medical issues relating to your nutrition or allergens, I do recommend definitely going to see a GP or a specialist that can run some tests, or even a biochemist for that matter. But what we're going to cover tonight, we're going to be looking at calories. We're going to be looking at your goals. We're going to be looking at micro and macronutrients, and we're going to be looking at how we can link this all together to create what you would perceive as your perfect diet. So obviously your diet is going to be different to my diet, and old Mrs. Jones down the street, and everybody's going to have a different requirement, and that's what we need to look at. So this is just general information, and really take what you can out of this. Of course, it is all interactive, so please feel free to throw any comments you've got up in our Zoom chat. Of course, if you have any issues down the track, feel free to shoot me a message as well. I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for, basically, to help. All right, let's kick things off with our goals. So there's no point in designing any sort of nutritional guidelines if you don't know what you want to achieve, right? Whether that's weight loss, weight gain, whether it's a medical drama that you need to overcome, we need to look at what exactly do you want to do, and let's get specific with it. We touched on this. We've got our 30-day shred starting next week, actually. If you're not on that, get onto that now. Actually, no, wait. Actually, don't get onto that now. Wait till the end of the webinar, then you can get onto that. Where we're going to be going to a lot more depth about your goals and getting specific with it. So I really want to start thinking about what exactly do you want. And while it's okay to say, hey, I want to lose weight, Well, how much weight do you want to lose? Where do you want to lose it from? Let's put the emotion behind it. Let's say, why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to gain weight? Maybe it's a medical anorexia is a big issue, or bulimia. You know, there's so many medical issues relating to nutrition that we can overcome. Okay, and I know a lot of those can be psychological. So I mean, obviously, you want to be going down the right path there, whether it's with a psychologist or the word escapes me, some sort of professional anyway, someone that actually has access to the tests that can be run and point you in the right direction and set you up, not just a crazy old witch doctor that you've met online that happens to be wearing a blue shirt. All right, so let's say you've got your goals. So for the purpose of this webinar, I'm going to be focusing on body fat loss, for the simple fact that it's probably the most common goal that anybody has, or that the majority of people will touch on. You know, back when I was managing all the gyms, you know, 80% of the population, women, it would be lose weight, turn up. Guys, it would be get ripped, get shredded, or get big and get shredded. Basically the same goal, just different terminology, right? You want to strip body fat. You want that tone physique, right? So basically the same thing. So now we need to look at your calories in versus your calories out. So there's no point having you know, such a high calorie goal if your goal is to lose weight. You need to be eating the right amount of food in order to accommodate your goal. Okay, so, and we'll get into a little bit more depth with the calories, but we're looking at calorie surpluses versus calorie deficits. Okay, so what is, I do want to look at what is a calorie. Now, a calorie is all it is just a unit of measure. So when we say, you know, this banana is worth 105 calories, right? That's how much energy you're actually putting into the body. And obviously we burn energy, and we literally burn energy. So when we lose weight, there was this big fad, I guess, going around the fitness world a couple of years ago, as to where exactly does your weight go when you lose it? Well, it's actually being found out that it's heat. So as we heat up, we sweat. Everything just evaporates into the atmosphere. It's the conversion of elements from it's the conversion of energy from kinetic to heat to, you know, whatever it is. I don't know. I've been up for about 16 hours now. Actually, more than that. About 4 a.m. this morning I got up. So excuse the chemistry brain's a bit fried. So that's your calorie. They're found in everything. So everything you eat, with the exception of water, will have a caloric value. I hope I pronounced that right. Caloric value. So you still need to be. So you'll have energy coming in from everything that comes in, and there's different types of energy. You got your proteins, your carbs, your fats. And again, we'll cover that later on in the night. But how do you calculate your calorie target? Well, I've got a basic list there for you. And this is just a rough guide. These are your maintenance calories. You'll have to excuse the spelling mistake there. So guys, generally speaking, will have a higher muscle mass than women, generally. Okay, I know there's going to be some exceptions out there. So men will generally need a higher intake of calories, right? Makes sense. So the more muscle mass you have, the more energy is required to maintain what you've got. So those numbers there, they're a rough guide for your maintenance calories. So that's what you would need to intake to maintain what you have now. Now that doesn't include any sort of extra training that you're doing, or if you happen to have if you're sick for a couple of days, if you spend the day on the lounge, you know, that's a generalized maintenance. So including general activity, including, hey, you got to go to the shops, do some groceries, and that sort of stuff. That's what you need. Now, how do we, too far, how do we calculate your weight loss calories? Again, for the purpose of this webinar, we're talking weight loss. Basically, drop it about 10 to 20%. That's as a general rule. So you work out your general calories. Let's say you're an 80 kilo male, roughly 2,000 calories. I'm just choosing that one because it's a round figure. 2,000 calories per day is what you need to maintain what you've got. You want to lose a little bit of weight. Let's drop it about 15%. So that's about, here's the struggle. About 300 calories, drop it down to about 1,700. I think that'll do. I'm just a trainer. We all know that trainers can't count. And that's going to be your calorie deficit. Now, there is such a thing as dropping it too far. Okay, so what happens there, and everybody I've spoken to would have heard this analogy about the deserted island, right? You're on a deserted island, you don't eat. The body goes into what's called starvation mode. So it's going to hold on to every little bit of energy it can get and store it. And it's stored as body fat. So once your glucose and your glycogen stores are full, they're your sugars, it then stores it as body fat. And I know there's going to be big chemists out there and other professionals saying, oh yeah, but it gets stored elsewhere as well. And it does, okay. I'm just trying to be as simple as possible. So you're on the deserted island, you're holding on to every little bit of energy that you can get, every single calorie, and it's stored as body fat. You're also reducing the systems in the body that require energy. Usually the first thing to go is your muscle. Okay, so if you're not getting enough energy in, the body will chew away at the things that need energy. Muscle number one, digestion is usually number two. And then obviously in extreme cases, it can go into organ shutdown and heart failure and brain, all this sort of stuff, all the crazy stuff. That's the extreme case, right? So when we lose muscle, generally speaking, it's because we're not eating enough or we're overtraining or there's other avenues, but that's the importance of hitting that calorie goal, not dropping too far below. And the same is true for eating too much as well. If you want to gain weight, you add about that 10, 20%. So roughly 2,300 thereabouts. Is that right? 2,350, something like that. Working off an 80 kilo guy. That's including general activity. Moving on, micronutrients. So the micronutrients, this is something that we don't usually touch on here. Like, everybody in the gyms, everybody in the fitness world, that we don't usually touch on micronutrients unless there's a deficiency, unless you have some sort of cravings. But the importance of the micronutrients is paramount. The body is, we talk about this a lot. We get the body working for you rather than trying to fight it this whole time. And that's where the micronutrients come into play. So then we're talking vitamins and minerals, and every vitamin and mineral has a specific role in the body. And you'll see down on our next graph here that there's a few little examples here. Dave, I know Dave's on the call tonight. We spoke about our B vitamins today. So here's a few examples here for you, Dave. You've got basically leafy greens are a good option to cover all your bases. There are a few other options here as well. Vegetables, green veg, with the addition of tomatoes is a pretty cool general guide for your B vitamins. But you do need a vast array of all these different colors, I guess they are. So the more colorful the plate, the more array of nutrients you're going to be getting in the body, right? And here we go. So this is exactly what we're saying here. The vitamins necessary for energy production, immune function, blood clotting, and all of the all of that sort of stuff. Minerals play a role in growth, so the bone health, the fluid balances, and basically regulating the body. So that's the difference between those two there. If you do want to take a screenshot of that, I'll give you a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds to take a screenshot. I'll post that up in our VIP group as well. Save you having this guy in your in your screen. But cool. Anyway, moving on. Let's talk macros. So the micros, your vitamins and minerals. We've got macronutrients here. So these are the big ones. So your proteins, your carbs, and fats. Basically, how this works, you've got a calorie, right? A single calorie. Now that calorie can be made of proteins, carbs, or fats. And depending on which one of those three it is, and where it comes from, will determine what micronutrients are involved. So that's the importance of having, of incorporating all these macronutrients, as well as all of these and more micronutrients. So when we talk about diets that cut out foods, and I'm not talking cutting out food-like products, because food-like products are crap, right? We're talking about if you're going to cut out food, you're going to be missing out on some nutrients, which we need to make up in other areas. And this is what we're finding now. We're big on keto at the moment, and we're getting some seriously great results from that. But we look at cutting out, the big thing for us is citrus. So we would try to cut out our citrus and our sugary fruits. So we restrict ourselves with our nutrients there. So we need to look for other sources that will make up for those nutrients that we're losing. And for the most part, I think we're doing quite well. It is quite simple on keto. But again, we'll touch on that later on. Let's talk about macronutrients. So your macronutrients, they're not all equal. Carbs are a bit of a funny one. You've got your starchy carbs, your fibrous carbs, and your sugary carbs. Okay, and each one will digest at a different speed. Okay, proteins again and fats are relatively slow to digest as well. You look at energy intake. Your energy intake from each one. You've got your proteins at 4 calories per gram. Carbs, depending on where that carbohydrate comes from, we generally work off again 4 calories per gram, and fats, you're looking at 9 calories per gram. The only one that's not up there is alcohol. And alcohol's a funny old one. There's a reason they use it at hospitals to kill all the germs, because your body has absolutely no use for it. It sits at about 7 calories per gram. So when you ingest alcohol, the body has to use those calories first. And, excuse me for getting a bit graphic here, but you've all heard the saying, opening the floodgates. When you're drinking a fair bit, you obviously have to go to the bathroom, right? And that's the alcohol. That's the body trying to expend the poison, for lack of a better term. So your body has to use those calories first. Any sort of calories you've got left in the system, including the glucose, including the glycogen that you've got already in there, and they're usually the first that will go, they have to be stored. So alcohol will override all of this. That's why there's such this emphasis on having a beer belly. Okay, so that's why, I'm not going to say don't drink, because, hey, who doesn't love a good tequila? But just be aware of what you're actually putting into the body and the impact that it can have. Okay, so what are the proportions of your macronutrients? Well, it depends on, obviously, your current nutrient goal. So for the sake of this, we're just going to be doing, I'm going to assume that everybody has like good nutrition, minimal allergies, if any at all. There's 2 approaches that you can take. You've got your traditional approach, which is using glucose as your energy source. And with that, we're going to look at this one here. It does get a little more in depth than this, but again, we're trying to give as much info as we can. So this is what we're going to be looking at. Roughly 35% carbs, 35% protein, and 30% fats. Okay, so that's utilizing sugars as your energy source. So again, the sugars will be the first thing to go. So that's your glucose. already in the bloodstream. Your stored sugars are your glycogen, and once they're gone, that's when the body will start to look for other sources. Okay, generally that would be proteins next, which is not a great thing, and fats will generally be last. You can switch those two around using your traditional methods, but that comes down to the type of training that you're using. And like we touched on earlier on, we're on keto at the moment. I'm getting some serious results from this since playing with keto. I think I'm personally down about 11 kilos. It is absolutely incredible. I'm loving this stuff at the moment. This is, and we copped a lot of stink for this one when we first started looking into this, because even as close as like 12 months ago, I think it was, we were looking at, and keto was sold as 0 carbohydrates, which again, if we flash back, you drop out carbs, you lose so many I mean, you look at this: carbs, everything here, pretty much everything there is carbohydrates. So you lose pretty much all your micronutrients. So the body just doesn't function. That's what we thought. We did a little bit more digging, and we found you can get a much better response by keeping your carbs in, but being selective with the type of carbs that you're doing. And it is a little bit more work, the keto approach, but the results are so much quicker and they're so much more beneficial. So your 20% carbs, that needs to come from fibrous carbs. So certain fruits, vegetables, with the exception of starches, and salads. So you're still getting your rainbow, but you're not getting the sugars in. And that's the approach that keto takes. We eliminate the sugar. The body has no other choice but to release the ketones from the liver, and those ketones will attach to the fats, and that's what will prioritize body fat over protein. It's not as easy as it sounds, but that's how that works anyway. So how do you track it? Okay, this is how we're going to finish this up. It's going to be a nice quick one tonight. I'm really happy with that. We've got through all of that. There's a lot of info there. Of course, if you do have any questions, please feel free to throw them up in the group. We use MyFitnessPal. If you haven't used MyFitnessPal, it's a cool little app, completely free. Don't go paying for the other one. I don't know if you can see that there. It's the little blue app. I'm not going to lie to you, it is a bit of a pain to wrap your head around using it when you first use it. But once you do, it's absolutely brilliant. You'll be able to load in your macronutrients, your diet. It's diet tracker, right? I do recommend that it will give you, once you load in your goal weight, your current weight, your exercise activity, blah, blah, blah. Once you load all that in, it will give you a target calorie goal to have. I do recommend actually working it out for yourself, like bounce back to these numbers here, drop about 10-15% off of them, then use that as your goal. As much as I love MyFitnessPal, they don't, the accuracy in terms of calorie goals can be a little bit skewed. So I do recommend just doing a little bit of research yourself. Of course, if you do want me to do yours for you, reach out and I'll take care of that. I'll get a little more accurate than just 10 kilos, give or take. I'll actually type in your exact weight, your exact activity level, etc., etc. So once you do that, you can then load in all your foods into your diary for what you're eating. I do recommend sitting down at night, spending 20 minutes or so, loading what you plan to eat tomorrow. It's got a little barcode scanner, not that you should be eating anything out of packets anyway, except for maybe some mince or something, or steaks or something like that. Scan the barcode and it's in. Brilliant tool. Definitely recommend using that one. If you do need a hand with that one, we did a little video earlier on about how to actually set your macros up. Of course, you can reach out to me directly as well. I'm here to help. But that's generally how we work with that one, guys. So we know your goals. Where are we? We know your goals. We then look at the approach you want to take, so keto or traditional. There's other approaches, but they're the big two. So that will dictate the percentages for our macronutrients, our proteins, carbs, and fats. With that, we load it all into MyFitnessPal. We then make sure we're getting a lot of color on our plate. All right, nice and easy. Are there any questions before we wrap this up for tonight? I've actually got through it a lot quicker than I was expecting. No questions? Sweet. Excellent. Alrighty, guys. Again, like I said, if there's any questions down the track, please feel free to reach out. Our 30-day shred, where we go into a lot more depth with this one, starts on October 14. It's not too late to register, so jump onto that. If you want in, shoot me a PM, and I'll send you the link to sign in for that. Absolutely awesome, guys. We got through that in no time at all. Hope you got something out of it. Have an amazing night, and yeah, we will chat again soon.